Okay, sir, please share your presentation. You are
Right.
live now here.
So can you please confirm you see my screen and also confirm that my voice is clear and loud?
Yes, sir, we can hear you clear and loud, and your screen is visible. So you may start now. Thank you.
Right. Yes. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, and the conference organizer, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present some of my thoughts in this prestige conference. I'm going to talk about the safety in construction, and the title of my presentation is Improving Safety Performance in Construction. My name is Dr. Tariq Umar, and I'm a lecturer in construction project management in the University of West of England. Right. So the content of my presentation will include the introduction and the importance of safety and health in construction. We'll try to look at the different causes of accident in construction. Then I will try to cover the cost of accident. Then we'll briefly cover the occupational safety and health regulation. Two topics related to heat stress and physical health of worker will be covered. And then later I will cover the safety culture and safety climate. And then at the end, we'll have the conclusion and a brief question and answer session. So let's look at some facts and figures, the global facts and figures related to health and safety in different sectors. So if we look at the statistic of International Labour Organization, that revealed that 2.78 million people die every day due to work-related accident or diseases. If we look at the injuries, so that are basically 374 million per year. If you look at the economic cost of the poor occupational safety and health, that is around 4% of the world GDP. If we take the example of Australia, so that is 4.1% of the Australian GDP per year. In terms of United States, that is more than 3,000 billion US dollar per year. If you look at the number of deaths, so the statistic indicate that more than 100,000 workers die on construction site every year, which is equal to 277 deaths per year. If the situation do not change, and if the safety performance is not improved, and if the situation remains the same, so the cost of the safety will be more than 37,000 billion as we go towards further. So this was based on the statistic till 2022. That was the projection, but of course we are in the 2022, so the current data is still going to arrive, but that was the projection. So if the situation do not change, you can imagine how much will be the cost, and that's why the safety and health in construction management is quite important and need to be given proper attention. Now, as I was mentioning that I have to cover some topics. So when we said the causes of accidents, so why it's important? Because when we will know the causes of accident and construction site, then we will be able to develop strategies, and then we will be able to avoid those causes on the construction site. Similarly, the cost of accident is also important, because when the people will know how much is the cost of accident, they will be willing, or they will be encouraged to invest on health and safety. Likewise, the occupational safety and health regulation are important, because we will not be able to achieve perfect health and safety on construction site without the implementation of robust occupational safety and health regulation. Then we also know, if you look at the South Asian countries, we know the temperature in summer is quite high, and that basically result in a phenomena which is called heat stress that affect the worker in terms of their response process. So their productivity also reduced, but their safety performance also affected. So there are some strategies which can be used to protect the worker from the heat stress. The physical health, if the worker will be healthy, then he will not be only productive, but his safety performance will be also improved. In terms of safety culture and safety climate, these are some of the modern concepts which basically use quite a lot in these days to improve the health and safety performance in construction site. Now let's look at to the causes of accident. What caused the accident? So if you look at to the United States construction industries, and if we look at to the OSHA statistic, so the main cause of accident that says is the fall from height, which basically 39% of the total accident. The second one is the struck by object, which is 8.23%. The electric short is 7.31%. And sometimes, the worker can be caught between an object or maybe between the vehicle. That is 5.14%. If you look at to the UK construction industries, and if we look at to the HSC statistics, so again, the fall from height is the leading one, which is responsible for almost 27% of accident. The second category is struck by the moving object or vehicle, which is 18%. The moving vehicle, and then the next one is the moving object, which is 16.3%. Similarly, there is also a possibility that someone will be trapped by something collapsing or overturning, that is 11.34%. And then the last one is contact with moving machinery, which is 9.21%. If you look at to the Australia construction sector, so again, fall from height is the leading one, and then which is basically 28% of the total accident. Vehicle collision is then 16%. Electric shock or electrocution is 15%. Then being hit by a moving object is 12%. Falling object is 11%, and then trapped between or in equipment is 8%, and other causes are 9%. So the reason by putting these statistics is that that can give us an awareness, basically what caused the accident. And you see that the main cause of the accident, or the leading cause of the accident, was fall from height. Now the problem is that if you know that accident or that reason, fall from height, it's mean nothing basically. What we need to improve? So basically what we need, we need a tracing model which basically trace the accident to the actual cause. And based on this concept, I have developed a tool which basically divide the accident in 4 different categories. So the accident can be caused by the equipment or material, the worker itself, the environment, and the management. So there is a tracing model where you can look at to the different aspect or different data which you have collected from the site. It's quite simple to use, and based on that you can identify what basically caused the accident. And that tool has been published in one of my paper. I have provided the link and also the title of the paper. If you are interested, might be able to take that tool from the paper. Now, what caused the accident? It's quite a lot of cost, but mainly we can divide them into direct cost, indirect cost, and then we can say the quality of life. Because when somebody is injured, or let's say he becomes disabled, so of course his throughout life will be affected. So the direct cost, you can simply define that when somebody is injured, he or she go to the hospital, so the payment to the hospital is made. That can be classified as direct cost. Indirect cost, because the worker is injured, so even if he arrive back to the site, maybe the productivity will not be the same. So that can be classified as indirect cost. And as I mentioned, that the quality of life. So if let's assume that somebody was injured and let's say he or she become disabled, so he will not be performing the same way when he was healthy or when he was perfect. So it will be the long life suffering. So that is basically affecting, or that can be a category which we can classify them as quality of life cost. As I mentioned, the three categories. So we can say the direct cost, and then we can say the indirect cost, and of course, the quality of life. It's quite difficult to estimate, but of course that is also a factor. So if we know the direct cost, using the statistic, we can determine the indirect cost. So I have just provided some indication what is basically the direct cost of accident in different countries. So if you look at to the United States, the direct cost of an accident is around 27,000 US dollar. In South Africa, it is 24,000 around. In the UK, it's 24, and in Australia, it's again 27,000. So the total cost, if you look at to the total cost, so you say direct cost, indirect cost, and then quality of life, which of course is quite tricky to estimate. But if you look at to those statistics, and if we consider one accident, so and consider the US construction industry, so the cost of an accident can be 4 million. I have worked on the cost of accident in different region because I was working in the GCC region. So I have estimate the different cost of accident. I have provided different approaches how to estimate those costs. It's quite difficult and it's quite tricky to arrive on an accurate estimate, but there are some procedure which basically give us a rough idea or an appropriate cost of accident. So I have provided the title of the paper and their web link. So if you want to read further on this, you can follow this title or these links. Okay, so heat stress, of course, we are aware about the flooding situation currently happening in Pakistan. And one of the reason is basically the global warming. So if you look at to the average, the temperature is rising by 1 degree centigrade per year since 2015. Because the construction work is basically physical demanding job. So on the construction side, the temperature is quite more. And if we look at to the accident on the construction side, so there is a pattern which basically tell us what time basically the most severe accident take place. So I have provided the Spain data, and that basically tell us that it's basically between 1 to 5 where more severe accident take place. And this is basically from my own research, which I have done in the GCC region. So if you look at to the graph, and if you look at to the time, which is from 2 to 3, and that is the time where most of the accident take place. And if you look at to the color where I'm putting my cursor, that is the more severe accident. I have developed some guideline which basically can reduce the effect of heat stress, or how we can protect our worker from the heat stress. So again, I have provided the link and the title of the paper. Again, when it's come to occupational safety performance, then the regulation is important. Now, if you look at to the Pakistan case, there are several legislation made at federal and provincial level in Pakistan, but they basically only cover the basic and general provision of the occupational safety and health. Since the government is trying to establish the Construction Industry Development Board, they also need to consider the occupational safety and health regulation, and that will basically help the industry to improve its performance in terms of occupational safety and health. The construction sector is quite important, and it is expected to be growing in the future, and that's why the government is trying to establish the Construction Industry Development Board. So I have just looked at to the projection, and the data I have taken is from the Board of Investment. So you can see how the construction industry is going towards peak when it's come to 2019. So if we if the construction industry is only growing, and if we don't look at to the safety performance, that will not be appropriate, because ultimately that also result into some kind of economic losses. As I was mentioning that the physical performance of the worker, so we can measure the physical performance or the physical health of the worker with quite simple indicators. So you can consider the body mass index. We can also consider the blood pressure. So if the worker blood pressure is high, of course, that will affect its response process. Why the blood pressure will be high? Because if the body mass index is high. So one of the reasons that when we'll have the high blood pressure if we are overweight, so there is a process to control those factors, and one of them is the healthy diet. I have provided some statistic here. I don't have the time to go through, but I have provided a link to one of my paper in which I have described how to do that assessment, and then based on that assessment, how we can develop some strategies that can make our worker more healthier. Now, the last one was the safety culture and safety climate. So in this case, I would like to highlight the three period, or you can say the three ages of the safety. So the first one is the technical period, which was in 1920, then the human factor period, which was in 1970, and then the last one is the management system period, which is in 1980. That is basically the last one, which is the management system period in 1980. That basically shift the focus and try to include the safety culture and the safety climate. So the safety climate is basically is to assess, or is basically an approach to measure the safety culture. And so if the safety culture will be reached, there will be less possibility of accident. There are several dimensions which can be used in the assessment of safety climate. You can say management and organization commitment, safety training, employee involvement in safety, worker safety behavior, safety communication, safety accountability and justice, supervisory leadership, and then safety leadership. Again, we have developed a tool which basically help us to assess the current safety climate and then develop strategies to bring the safety climate to a mature level so that the safety performance can be improved. Right. Just a brief conclusion. There are several ways to improve occupational safety and health. This also depends on the company capabilities and their capital. Like, for example, for small organization, they might be interested to know the causes of accident. For big organizations which have the resources, they might be able to adopt the safety climate approach. There are guidelines to reduce the impact of heat stress, and also a good diet can help to reduce the BMI and the blood pressure. And at the end, a healthy worker is not only safer, but it's also more productive. It's basically in the favor of construction organization. Okay, so this is the last slide. I'm sorry if I was quite fast, so I will be happy to answer your question. You have my email address. If you want to get in touch, you can get in touch through my email address. You can see it on screen. You can also connect with me through my social media account I have provided there. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to answer your question.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for this nice presentation. And the audience, if there is any question, they'll contact you via your social media account or email address. Once again, sir, thank you for your precious time and so nice presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, and have a nice day.
Thank you.